Digital Christianity, a case study of Southland Christian Church by Molly Lefevers. The ongoing evolution and growth of digital media continuously impacts society. From social activities to business interactions, the way that people communicate today is vastly different than it was pre-information age. The Christian Church is one facet of society that has been greatly impacted by the rapid digitization of communication practices. The American Megachurch, which entered into our collective consciousness in the late 1980s, was at the forefront of the incorporation of digital practices into the Protestant worship experience. Originally, the megachurch's deviation from tradition centered on the size of the church community. Whereas traditional churches were typically comprised of local communities, megachurches expanded to incorporate entire regions. This resulted in congregations growing to include hundreds or even thousands of regularly attending church members. Alongside the introduction of the megachurch in the 1980s was the integration of the internet into the public sphere. As megachurches grew in size and popularity, they increasingly incorporated the internet and other contemporary digital technologies into regular worship practices. Today, it is not uncommon to see a megachurch with an extensive online presence and heavy reliance on technology within a church service. For the purpose of this video essay, we will evaluate the digital practices of Southland Christian Church, a megachurch located in central Kentucky with campuses in Lexington, Nicholasville, Georgetown, and Danville. Ultimately, this video emphasizes that the American megachurch is not a replacement for the traditional church, but it has opened a door for the contemporary church to communicate faith and theology in a way that is more accessible to a larger body of people. In order to keep up with rapid growth in congregation size, it is only natural that megachurches began to operate as businesses, implementing essential marketing techniques such as storytelling and branding. In his book, Branding Faith, Phil Cook explains how churches can get the most out of their branding strategies by focusing on relatable stories about the common man and woman, rather than relentlessly driving home a mission statement. Stories create a lasting bond that mere information sharing cannot replicate. Storytelling is a relatively common practice at Southland Christian Church. In order to more clearly communicate an important point in a sermon, lead pastors John Weiss and Scott Nickel often use pre-recorded videos in which members of the church share personal stories about how God impacted their lives.
I asked Billy and Katie Ann if they would share with you tonight just a little bit of what they've been going through. I would ask for your undivided attention, and I would pray that you would block out distractions and just lean in as they share these words.
RSTUVWXYZ. Now I know my ABC. We were blessed with a beautiful baby girl in 2011, and she was everything, and she was happy and healthy and really no issues at all. Then we welcomed our second daughter, and life was good. We had 2 little girls. We were so happy. Then when our youngest daughter was 3 weeks old, so we were in the grind of parenthood, Bennett got sick, and it happened fast.
She started having some balance issues and walking. It's because she couldn't walk a straight path. So we knew something was wrong, so we took her into the ER. They immediately did a CAT scan and found that there was basically a fist-sized tumor the size of like a man's fist.
We were in the middle of the ER with the doctor, and he told us that news, and we just broke down on the floor.
As Billy and Katie Ann continue telling their story, they describe the process of making the difficult decision to stop putting their daughter through chemotherapy as she wasn't responding to the treatments. They share their heartache in watching their daughter suffer and seeing her pass away, but they also express the journey of hope and joy that they went through with God, knowing and believing that their daughter was on her way to heaven, even in the midst of such a devastating situation. Earlier in this sermon, Pastor John Weiss told the biblical story of Noah. He explained how Noah survived a difficult situation in life, the flooding of the entire earth, by relying on God completely. By including Billy and Katie Ann's story, Weiss takes a theological concept and makes it tangible, relatable, and applicable for contemporary life. Of course, Pastor John could have chosen for Billy and Katie Ann to join him on stage and tell their story live. This is a technique that Southland has used before and that many more traditional churches would likely gravitate towards. However, the benefit of telling the story through video is that the church has the opportunity to establish more agency over the creative presentation of the video, while also sharing the story widely on their website and social media platforms. This has the potential to vastly increase the story's reach and impact. Not only does Southland implement marketing techniques through the use of video storytelling, but they also heavily rely on branding to communicate with their congregation and any new guests who come into contact with the church, either in person or online. Because of the value-centric nature of the Christian church, the most successful branding strategy involves communicating the church's mission and beliefs in a clear way. Southland summarizes its primary goal as encouraging its members to simultaneously live in relationship with Christ, in community with other Christians, and in service to God's kingdom. The church's mission statement is, "We are courageous followers of Jesus who love God, love people, and prove it daily in our communities, in our city, and in our world." Southland clearly and directly states its goals and mission in the About Me section of their website. That being said, in order to successfully communicate their values on a broader scale, it is essential to establish consistency in communication strategies across online platforms and in face-to-face interactions. In a 2015 article discussing branding techniques for nonprofit organizations, Trapello emphasizes the importance of crafting messages that are consistent and easy to interpret. Southland's implementation of consistent branding is evident on their Instagram page. Southland structures their content both in church services and online by grouping them into various teaching series. Each series lasts multiple weeks and has its own branding strategies that are communicated through repetitive use of language, graphic design, and sometimes even merchandise. This strategy allows Southland to distribute their messages and values in an easy-to-interpret way, providing newcomers with a clear picture of what to expect when visiting the church, while also offering accessible reminders and updates to existing church members. While megachurches do find benefit in implementing business-like operations, there are some potential drawbacks to this method. Journalist Marcus Yours pointed out that many megachurch attendees are more concerned with being entertained at church than actively engaging in the church's mission. This mindset is often inspired by the contemporary technological practices of megachurches. It is for this reason that many people critique megachurches for being all about an experience rather than actual Christian values of faith, community, and service. However, many megachurches, like Southland, discourage their members from simply being passive spectators by offering numerous opportunities for service and deeper engagement. They also use technology to further support and encourage participation in their mission. Megachurches, of course, cannot force their members to be more engaged, but then again, neither can traditional churches. For many years, megachurches have adopted digital technology to communicate complicated theology in a more accessible way, while also using branding techniques to reach a new audience. But the digital strategies of megachurches extend beyond their marketing campaigns. Many megachurches are using technology to connect their congregation in unique and inventive ways. A growing trend amongst megachurches is to increase their potential congregation size by developing more than one physical church location. According to a study by Bird and Thuma, in 2011, 10% of Americans attending Protestant churches were members of megachurches. Additionally, multi-site megachurches saw a 95% growth rate, with single-site megachurches growing at only 70%. Of those megachurches, half had multiple campuses, with an additional 20% thinking about going multi-site. With 4 locations spanning central Kentucky, Southland is among the many megachurches to make use of multiple campuses. Without digital technology, it would be difficult, if not impossible, to bring these multiple campuses together in a way that would still feel like the church is one cohesive body. In order to make up for the distance and physical space, Southland uses screens and live video broadcasting to allow all of their campuses to listen to the same sermon at the same time.
So I read about a family that went on vacation to the Holy Land, and the husband took his wife, his kids, and his mother-in-law. And sadly, about halfway through the trip, she got sick and died. So the son-in-law went to a funeral home there in Israel and said, hey, my mother-in-law passed away, what are my options? And the funeral director said, well, you have 2. He said, for $5,000, you can ship her body home, or for $500, we can bury her right here in Jerusalem. Well, the son-in-law didn't think long about it. He said, I'll pay the $5,000 and ship her home. And the funeral director said, are you sure about that? He said, I promise you, we can do a really nice funeral right here. And the son-in-law took him by the collar. Said, listen, 2,000 years ago, you guys buried a guy over here, and 3 days later he rose from the dead? I can't take that kind of chance with my mother-in-law.
Each week, the pastor preaches live at one church location, usually the largest one, while all other campuses join together to watch a live broadcast video. This unites the worship experience across campuses, creating a sense of unity and cohesion. A drawback of this method is that most church members do not have the opportunity to know their pastor on a personal level, a benefit that is afforded by the arrangement of smaller, more traditional churches. However, multi-site megachurches do create a larger and more universal sense of Christian community, potentially providing more opportunities for encouragement and support for those who seek it. In addition to expanding community through multiple physical locations, many megachurches, including Southland, employ the internet as an additional pseudo-campus. By way of podcasts and video sermons uploaded to the church's website, church members are able to remotely stay up to date on the teachings and activities of the church. This flexibility is beneficial in the event that someone has to miss a service because of things such as illness or vacation, thus allowing individuals not to get behind on a teaching series that the church is in the middle of, regardless of personal circumstances.
Hey everyone, we're so excited you want to visit us at Southland. We call our visitors VIPs, and we want to make your experience as simple as possible.
While many people find a sense of community in the megachurch environment, there are critics who question the value of a community that is so expansive. Journalist Tim Shuttle articulated a common concern that the massive size of megachurches prevents the forging of close-knit communities, which greatly hinders the capacity for emotional and spiritual support and accountability amongst the congregation and church leadership. That being said, most megachurches offer opportunities for their members to create smaller communities within the larger church body by getting involved in small group Bible studies and service teams. For those who choose to get involved with megachurch in this way, they essentially have the best of both worlds, a broad Christian community and a smaller, more tight-knit group of Christians to turn to for support. Essentially, the megachurch and more traditional churches represent completely different styles of practicing Christianity. While megachurches are on the rise and do attract a large number of people, traditional churches still hold their place in society. According to Bird and Thuma, of the 56 million American Protestant church attendees in 2011, 50 million attended churches with congregations smaller than 100 people. Largely through the use of digital technology, megachurches offer a unique worship experience that is more attractive to some people. Thuma and Bird found that nearly 100% of megachurches include highly produced worship music performances, the use of screens during services, community activities beyond regular church services, and multiple opportunities for volunteering and outreach. Furthermore, 70% of people who attend megachurches are under the age of 50. So, in conclusion, it isn't that megachurches should replace the traditional church, but recognizing the current cultural significance of the megachurch is essential. Through the use of digital technology, megachurches are able to communicate faith and theology in a more accessible way, expanding their reach and impact in the process.